Hey, I'm Gabriel Dillon with Contentful, and you're listening to the CPGGUYS podcast.
Welcome to the CPGGUYS podcast. Your hosts, Sri Rajagopalan and Peter V.S. Bond, explore how brands and retailers engage consumers in an increasingly digitally driven world. And now, here are the CPGGUYS.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the CPGGUYS. I'm Sri, co-founder and host, of course, of the CPGGUYS and also co-founder and partner of ThinkBlue, your key to unlocking your profitability potential. As builders, connectors, and amplifiers, we shape the future of commerce to drive your growth. Please do listen to my older daughter, Ria Raj's music at www.riaraj.com, and my younger daughter, Laura Raj, is a member of the Geffen Records Universal Music Group Cat's Eye. They've just announced their tour on the Jingle Ball series, Dallas, Boston. In December is in the cards. More importantly, Touch, the hit single, has crossed 100 million plays on Spotify, earning it the multi-platinum label. Joining me today, and we just came off the heels of a day trip to Minneapolis to watch him live. My wife and I were lucky enough to be side stage and walk the stage with them. Joining me today, of course, is my BFF co-host, Mr. Peter V.S. Bond. And when he's not co-hosting his podcast, he serves as partnership acceleration lead at Flywheel, a division of Omnicom that helps enterprise brands improve their SEO and SEM, growing the e-commerce businesses. Dodgers, Yankees happened last night. We have waited 3 decades for this moment. We're going to game 1, game 2, game 3, game 4. Tickets punched. There'll be some live broadcasting going on from those games. There'll be lots of pictures from those games. Mr. Bond, I cannot wait. You excited, man?
Well, yes, I am, Sri. And can you hear that? You probably can't because I haven't edited it post-production. But playing in the background right now to our track is Randy Newman singing, "I love LA, I love it."
New York, New York. Frank Sinatra all the way.
Randy Newman, my brother.
Who came first, Randy Newman or Frank Sinatra?
It's not who came first, it's which team is better, and that's the Dodgers.
Who has 20? How many do the Dodgers have?
Who was the last time we
single hand.
Last time we met, who won?
27 versus single hand.
1981, Dodgers won. We're going to take it again.
By the way, the Yankees lead the series 41-21.
Sorry. No, 7. Actually, no. We have 7. We have 7. That's 2 hands. Sorry.
7. Oh, we just have a 20 in front. Oh, my God.
All right. We're just going to beat each other to death, Street. All I'm going to tell everybody is just follow us.
Let's get to our guest.
Follow us on LinkedIn. It's going to be an ugly week or so until the Dodgers dispatch with the Yankees and Sri goes crying home to Woodland Hills.
So the interesting thing, Peter, is at the time of the release of this podcast, we're already in Game 5. Maybe the series is already decided. I hope not. But
then I'll get you a therapist for all your depression, Sri. I'm happy to chalk up
all the happiness and the joy that's going to come out. Poor Peter will never come to LA again in embarrassment. But anyway, in any event, before we get to our guest, we want to ask you to consider following us in your preferred listening app if you haven't done so. This will ensure you automatically receive new episodes as they're released. And while you're at it, please do follow our sister podcast, FMCG and the CPG Scoop. And this year we're partnering with Drugstore News on December 4th at the iconic Lincoln Center on the annual Issue Summit in its 21st edition. We'll be co-presenting 8 awards at the event in the health and beauty care HABA space to both brands and retailers. We're also partnering with the Path to Purchase Institute and the annual Omni Shopper Awards, Chicago, November 14th, where a select group of winners will actually feature on the CPGGUYS. To be part of, sponsor, register, get in touch with us at contact@cpgguys.com. Now announcing the first retail media executive education program in our industry from May 5th to 8th, 2025 at Cornell Tech. The CPGGUYS are strategic partners with Cornell for this immersive 4-day program that brings together industry thought leaders and renowned faculty to share best practices. From actually building compelling retail media platforms, you'll discover how to collaborate in creating best-in-class tech stacks, measure performance to ensure brands access the necessary KPIs based on campaign objectives, establish strong partnerships between brands and retailers. In addition, the program covers optimizing brand strategies using AI-driven campaign design at scale to achieve marketing goals. Links to our podcast, Sistercast, social media profiles of my daughters, Ria and Laura, my wife's podcast, How to Register for PDPR Live or the DSN Issue Summit. Offer more information on the Cornell Retail Media Program. You can simply find it in the digital liner notes of this episode. And now on to the main event.
Sri, we're also going to include a link to therapy for all of the dejected Yankees fans.
For you, For you, as well as every homer hit by Juan Soto, Judge, Stanton. How many do the Dodgers have? Only Otani. Oh my God.
Oh boy, it's so easy. It's so easy to trigger you, Shri.
Nice try, Peter.
Let's move on.
As we say it often here on the show, today's CPG landscape has accelerated a decade in the last 4 years. Since the pandemic happened, the pandemic's gone, and omni-channel retail has certainly taken over. There's a maturity with the digital shopper and habits, and how to build a path to purchase that has emerged in the CPG industry that's exclusively omni-channel. One of the areas that requires profound transformation is engaging customer content. AI is at the forefront, making the possibility of significantly scaling personalized messages in content possible in minutes and seconds. Today, we talk to such a guest from one such company who's featuring for the third time on the CPG Guys. They're on the mission of content from anywhere to everywhere and to rapidly build experiences customers crave. Simply put, content is now a hot topic, especially given AI as the backdrop. This is episode 3 with Contentful. Episode 1 with them was released with Jan from VML and Nicole from Contentful. Episode 2 with Jonathan Phillips. Better, easiest way for you to find him, go to www.cpgguys.com or your favorite platform for listening and simply search for the name of these individuals or the word Contentful. You can also go to Google and type CPG Guys podcast and the name of these individuals on Contentful, and you should be able to find it in 1 second. In this episode, we're bringing you the ongoing value proposition of Contentful as told by Gabriel Dillon, Principal Strategic Alliance Manager for the company. Gabriel is back at Contentful after a stint at Ninetailed, bringing his expertise in personalization and testing to the world's largest composable content ecosystem. Of course, we're going to want to know what that means and much more in this interview. Before this, he led partnerships at Ninetailed, as I mentioned, and founded a Y Combinator-backed startup, successfully scaling it with top-tier venture capital. Gabriel was Algolia's first North America sales hire and later its first partner sales executive. Along the way, he built top-tier agency relationships at Contentful. Gabriel, welcome to the CPG Guys. I'm sorry you had to listen to the Yankees-Dodgers banter. We don't even know what your favorite team is, but here's where we are, man.
It's a pleasure to be here, and having grown up in New Jersey, I can easily tell you how I feel about the Yankees, but I don't think I'm allowed to swear. And then I lived in LA, but now I'm an Oakland guy. So now I just cry every single day.
You mean Las Vegas now, right? Because Oakland's losing its team.
No, I'm an Oakland guy.
No, I mean, but they're leaving you. Well, it's great to have you here, Gabe. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Sri.
Peter and I have a little story here, Gabriel. Peter and I were fortunate enough. We were in Vegas for grocery shop, and we were able to see the demolition of the Tropicana Casino, where the new stadium for the Athletics is about to be set up. So we're looking forward to seeing that. But it's disappointing to see Oakland lose franchise teams. But thank you for joining us today. We're excited to speak with you about the space of content and personalization, continue to discover the value proposition. But before we get to the detailed questions that Peter and I will go back and forth with you in our discussion, it'll be great if you took 60 seconds, give us a brief overview of Contentful just to remind the audience, and then your role there.
Yeah, for sure. So Contentful is a content management platform. It's a composable, headless content management platform that companies all around the world use to create really compelling experiences for their customers. My role there is really unique because in one sense, I technically only started there about 2 months ago through the acquisition of a company called Ninetailed. But that's not actually the whole story, since I worked at Contentful before I joined Ninetailed. So I've got a lot of history with the organization. My job these days is to bring the expertise I gained during Ninetailed's time into the company and to the entire ecosystem of folks that use the Contentful platform. Ninetailed, of course, is a personalization and experimentation, like A/B testing solution for composable content. And we're used in very, very large CPG companies like Kraft Heinz and doing work all around the world. It's super exciting work. The company is doing very well, and it's a pleasure to be able to work on these types of products at this time in our experience here.
Thank you so much for that. Of course, in the digital liner notes of this episode, we'll place links to your LinkedIn profile, Gabriel, your company's LinkedIn page, and of course, Contentful's website. That way, people listening on mobile platforms can easily connect back with you from their smartphones in one simple click as they're listening. All right, the main event. Gabriel, let's start with you, your career. I mentioned quite a bit, back and forth, Ninetailed, Contentful. You've had quite the career in content development and agency relationships along with tech platforms. You've also served as a result various industries, I mean verticals. You spent time at Ninetailed with Contentful just acquired, which Contentful of course just acquired. Give us the scoop on your career and how you anchored the last few years in content as a business model.
It's a good question, and talking about how all of my weird things come together is always a bit of a challenge. But there's two threads that I think are super common. There's this idea that technology these days, especially in the form of solutions that developers use, is an important part of the storytelling process. So you take an API first marketing technology, you put it in the hands of people who are going to build an experience that tells a story. I find that so compelling. I think that the people who are imagining the worlds in which people live in a year from now, 5 years from now, they're the ones that are heroes of every single story that we talk about, especially from a commercial perspective. How are we talking about products? How are we giving people experiences that entertain them? I think that's awesome. And the second part of it is, what are those experiences? What is going to be compelling that gets a product sold? What is going to be an interesting opportunity for a customer to learn something new about a brand, about some sort of company? These are things that come together because everything we do right now is just mediated through the internet, through our apps, through our phones, through our experiences online. So you combine these technologies that people build things with the actual content that they're producing, the sorts of experiences they're giving to folks, and it's super exciting. I am mostly just a glorified sales rep. Like, that's what I do. But I get to work with the coolest people who build these experiences all around the world. And in particular, my job has primarily focused around what we call partnerships, which is working with the ecosystem of technologies and implementers that are doing the work. So it's not like I only work with the brand that's going to buy the solution. I get to work with the folks that implement the solution for many different brands. And that gives me a really good breadth of experience working across all sorts of different, as you said, verticals, industries, projects. It's a good life. I'm super privileged, lucky to be able to do the work that I do.
How I interpreted that, Gabriel, before we go on to the next question is, you may say sales guy, I will say ambidextrous who actually knows what he's selling and is solving problems by building true business solutions.
I stand on the shoulders of the folks building the business solutions. I don't take credit for that, but I get to help. And I think that's fun.
If only Peter and Shri could show that humility in the World Series that you just did, it would be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
Never going to happen, Shri. Never going to happen. Hey, Gabriel, thanks for joining us. We are so pleased to have you as the guest on the third partner series with Contentful. So, as you are the person responsible for bringing the expertise of Ninetailed into the Contentful platform, what, from your perspective, does the acquisition of Ninetailed mean for Contentful, and how do you think it improves the overall portfolio of this headless content management platform?
It's an interesting question. If I might just go back a little bit further, earlier than the acquisition itself, Ninetailed was created to be a personalization and testing solution for composable content. Contentful happens to be the leader in composable content. The first, the biggest reach, the most mature platform, all of those superlatives get applied to Contentful. Ninetailed realized, though, that the people that use these solutions have struggled historically in major ways. So you buy a big enterprise piece of software, then you buy another big enterprise piece of software, then you buy a third big enterprise piece of software, and somehow you have to get them all to work together, and then you have to learn how to use all of them. And quite frankly, it sucks. So Ninetailed created its solution to sort of work really well with Contentful. When I joined a little over 2 years ago, it was still a baby little company, but we had this amazing partnership with Contentful. You can imagine that because I was working at Contentful before I joined Ninetailed, I had a little bit of a superpower when I joined in that I knew the organization really well. But the truth is the whole organization was already geared towards collaborating and making a really effective joint value proposition with Contentful. So in some ways, the fact that Contentful acquired Ninetailed shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. And the the manner in which the acquisition has actually happened, our ability to sell the solutions together, to work together, like that's just the proof that's happened over the course of all of the effort spent for 2 years. So like it's really natural and it's been a very, very smooth acquisition. What I think though that's super interesting is the two solutions, even though they're so closely collaborating, are super different. Contentful creates the content platform for distributing content all around the world in any different way that you can imagine, with lots of workflows, lots of opportunities for including AI, all sorts of different capabilities. But it doesn't do a lot of other things. And like where I think Ninetailed, which of course is personalization and testing of content, comes in, is when you say, is the content any good? Who is seeing this content? How do I get the good content to reach the right people? And what happens when they see it? And this part of the story is enormous. It's an amazing opportunity for marketers around the world, brands, retailers, to suddenly put more value into their content and get more value out of it. So I think that when Contentful acquired Ninetailed, it realized that an aspect of being a content platform solution meant providing that feedback, providing those capabilities to their clients in ways that weren't well served in the market. So here we are now together. I'm back at Contentful, and it's a great opportunity to provide something that the market needs that's going to make more value for our clients and those of the entire ecosystem.
Awesome. I'm sure Contentful is happy to have you back based on what you just said. So Peter and I were recently at the Cannes Lions International Festival of Creativity. And, we would have expected a lot of conversation on creative more for advertising. But one of the hottest topics was AI-backed content, that there was not a single conversation anywhere taking place without AI-backed content. And it's a hot, hot, hot topic now that COVID is over and the return to brand advertising. Upper funnel acquisition is the name of the game. How do you personally feel about AI and content intersecting? What is Contentful doing about AI and content intersecting through the platform? And how are you gearing up for what arguably will be a tough change in the industry?
I mean, well said, Sri. Like that's exactly right. Like it's going to be a tough change for the industry because it upends what we think of as the production of content. The thing though, here's the thing. AI generated content, like the ability to spit out some new paragraph, a new headline, something like that, that went from like, can AI do that to like every AI can do that. Like that is table stakes right now. But the ability to do that is still very profoundly necessary when you talk about performing content at scale, producing content at scale. The ability to say, well, I'm a big CPG brand, something like our client Kraft Heinz, who has more than 200 brands. Let's say each one of those brands has a presence in between 1 and 20 markets. And each one of those wants to start testing variants of content and personalizing that to any number of different segments of their audience. Like the amount of content just gets ridiculous. And AI has to be a part of that. It doesn't work if you can't automatically create variants that are on brand, that speak to the place in which that content is going to appear, that are aware of the brand and tone and voice and all the other aspects of the CMS to create the right piece of content for the right person. AI can do that. The question is, how will we adopt it? Will people be happy with it? Will they feel safe using it? Like those are still the questions that are open. And it is going to upend the industry. It's going to change the way that we do a lot of our business.
Peter, can I just ask a quick follow-up? One of the areas, though, Gabriel, I would like to hear from you is, as a Contentful employee now and an associate, how you feel about the intersection of AI and creative. Is this the future that at this point the ink on the pen has already dried up and this is how content is going to be generated in the future? And y'all are personally at Contentful, therefore gearing up for mass production of personalized content?
When you talk about creativity, you talk about adding that special insight the thing that defines the brand, the thing that will resonate with the consumer, with the user, with the customer. And like that is not where AI's strength is right now. Like we still need somebody to say, this is a good idea. And this idea is something that we can do because of the way that we understand our organization and the sort of objectives that we have. AI can't do that yet. What AI can do is some really incredible pattern matching. And when you think about content at scale, when you think about the intersection of content and making it work across many, many different solutions, channels, platforms, et cetera, what you can do is you can say, well, we have a whole lot of data about a consumer, about a person, what they do, in our loyalty app or on our website, in our commerce experience. And we can understand what makes them similar to other folks. We also know a lot about the content that they're experiencing. If they're in the loyalty app, like what tier of loyalty member are they? Like what have they interacted with? Did they purchase things in the past? And what this does is it gives us the opportunity to say, well, there's some patterns in the data around usage, customer journey, et cetera. There's some patterns in the content data too. What makes for a compelling headline when smashed into this other insight we have about customer experience? Can we use the AI to create a headline that takes those two things into account? The answer is yes, we can right now. Like that is here already today. And it solves a big part of what it means to produce content at scale. Does it have the creative spark? No, I don't think so. I hope it doesn't for a long time because I'm the kind of person that really wants to know that somebody was talking to me personally. Now, of course, I work for a personalization product, so there is the tension, right? I want to be spoken to personally. AI is going to play a role in that, but it has to be really, really good.
I think what I hear you saying, Gabe, is that AI, as you're talking about it, is the more traditional machine learning. I think we get all caught up in the generative AI where the creativity is critically important, and AI isn't quite there yet. It is good at pattern recognition and pattern matching, as you said. And what I also heard you say is by doing so, the goal is to find those patterns that are associated with propensity to convert. And if you can correctly identify those patterns, then you can create content that will have a similar effect on a scaled audience rather, and actually deliver that meaningful experience that drives a conversion, which is what your clients are looking for. Yes?
Actually, no. Like you're super close, but the new form of artificial intelligence is really critical in this kind of pattern matching. So there's an important part I think when you think of how is somebody going to use the AI to move this forward, they need to receive some sort of feedback from the AI itself. If it's just a black box and you throw something in there and you get something out, like we're not going to trust that result. We're not going to implement it, especially not at like a large scale. So the large language model, the LLM, actually describes what the AI is doing. What is the pattern that it has deciphered? And it gives that back to the user so that they can say, yeah, this is a good idea. Maybe it's not the creative idea that our brilliant person down in the basement would have come up with, but the LLM is definitely doing the pattern recognition and then somewhat translating it for a human audience, us, the people that use the technology.
Okay, so Gabe, my next question is around platforms. Ultimately, which platforms matter for content engagement, and how is Contentful providing services to drive that?
There's a quote from one of our customers. I mentioned the client in the past, Kraft Heinz. Justin Thomas, he's the head of their digital experience, and he says that Kraft Heinz, which of course makes mac and cheese and ketchup and those sorts of things, they're not competing with other food companies. They're competing with Netflix and Disney and Nike because they're trying to talk to an audience that wants to be entertained. They want to be able to have an experience with the brand, be able to become a fan and experience what it means to be a fan. And yeah, TikTok, Instagram, TV, even. Like, these are places that people get to experience their brands all over the place. They're not the places where Contentful plays, though. Contentful is about where the brand gets to control their story and give experiences to the users. So loyalty apps, commerce experiences, websites, kiosks in store. These are opportunities for folks to receive a message that's given by the brand itself. Of course, because I'm the personalization and testing guy, like, it's really important that we use those opportunities to figure out what a consumer is really into so that we can go and create a video for TikTok that goes viral. But it's really important that we take advantage of the opportunities we have on owned media properties.
And that's where you said that Contentful plays in platforms where brands can control the message, and that relates to the tone, the voice, and frankly, if particularly for HBC items or OTC medication, even the compliance component of things. Yes?
Yeah. Governance, compliance, all of those are really important for sure.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Debating compliance is a very important topic in today's day and age, given the role of AI in content and how quickly it is exploding to personalization that can even, I hate to use the words, but actually recreate, co-create other people's opinions. But let me remind the public that today I am speaking with Gabe Dillon, Principal Strategic Alliance Manager at Contentful. So let's jump into that governance element. We talked about compliance, which is very much in and around the governance piece. We've declared responsibility around content governance through compliance matters. AI, though, is completely challenging this very theory. The whole notion of dams, PIMs, which would govern all this stuff in a very reasonable way, I would say, is going to become under significant stress from AI. So how are you guys, especially as platform makers, thinking about governance and services around it? And how can you one-up existing PIMs, dams that, have made an attempt and so far been great at the industry, but clearly not ready for AI?
The way that I think about it is that the AI's job is not to automate everything. It will eventually get there. We will see where there's opportunities for the AI to do tasks that we don't even anticipate right now. But at the moment, here we are in today's world. The task of the AI is to first do some of that crazy pattern matching that I mentioned a few moments ago. And then second, teach the users how to actually progress through the steps of their own job. So the way that, for example, Contentful's personalization solution works is it can identify an audience of folks that might be targetable by a message. And it then gives that audience back to the user and says, hey, I've identified an audience. And Peter, to your comment earlier, it uses the LLM to create a title for that audience, describe that audience, tell me, the user, what that audience signifies. Then it can use that to create an experience, a A/B test or a personalization. But again, it has to tell me what that opportunity is. And I have to decide whether it's a good idea, whether it meets my business goals. So the idea that it's a white box, it's doing crazy magic behind the scenes, but I have my hand on the tiller at every step of the way. I get to determine the path of the future, and I understand what I'm actually doing is really important. Just one more example about how that matters. If you are really interested in compliance and governance, what it means is you need to track everything and you have to have a record of all of the things that you're doing. And if you just spit out some machine learned number, like some score, that score is completely opaque. But with content, you can actually see that there is a headline. It is described thusly. It has these words in it. It addresses this audience, which is defined by the rules that we can see in the engine. And we know exactly who those users are that are getting that message, and we can determine what messages they receive. That allows you to have a transparent white box governance and compliance process for personalization, which is honestly like really hard to do at scale because that's where the AI is going to help.
And it's important to feed back into the algorithm what doesn't work from the original description that you gave it around legal and compliant so that it learns, and over time it tends to minimize the amount of human intervention needed? Because I think right now you probably agree, I know from my time working on both retailers and brands, that the lawyers, generally speaking, are a major bottleneck. And if you can automate and validate as much of the compliance efforts put into that, you're going to reach that scale that has been very elusive. Yes?
Yeah. I mean, the lawyers are going to be probably the slowest movers on approving things. There's actually some really fascinating AI stuff that addresses law topics, but like to get something approved through the lawyers is going to be really difficult and slow. But we'll gain trust. Like there will be more opportunities, more exposure, more understanding about how these technologies work. And we'll get there because, we need to be able to address these things at scale.
Well, I think Shakespeare was clearly very right about the lawyers, but we'll leave that for another day conversation, right? My question to you, Gabe, is around the fact that content is obviously more than just production. I think you've kind of talked about that. We're doing this to get a better return on our investment, right? We're not just doing it for the sake of doing it. How do you see a measurement framework around this idea of content production, and what is Contentful doing? Seems like the Ninetailed component and capability is really centered around taking that content that's creating and actually measuring which one's effective at creating the right experience. But I'll let you answer that.
I mean, you nailed it. Like Ninetailed is the measurement opportunity for content. You have the ability to track the performance of content. You can take that data about what content performs well and for what kind of user. You can process it along with all of your other analytics to be able to decide what's valuable. Where this is really interesting is that we've all known that content is king and context is queen. Now we can actually put some numbers to the investment and talk about whether or not the effort we've allocated towards creating a content experience is paying off. If you experiment on content, you can say, hey, this content is actually better. It's drawing more eyeballs. It's pushing more conversions. We are able to see greater engagement because of this piece of content. And that's historically been really, really hard, especially if you want to automate that or create an experience for a very specific subset of your customers.
So I'm going to go where I kind of was floating around just a little bit, which is I use the word personalization, but I'm going to jump to personalization at scale. Personalization is an often abused word in the industry in the last year. We heard it very often at the Cannes Lions Festival of Creative. We heard it very often on the show from guests that come on and talk about, we're going to do personalized targeting through personalized offers and personalized campaigns. So AI is actually could make it possible with the right tech platforms and the right input data, right? So talk to us about content personalization at scale. Is this even a feasible concept? And then how do you guys at Contentful actually enable it through your platform?
Another buzzword, I mean, we all trade in buzzwords around here. The other buzzword that gets at this a little bit is hyper-personalization. We talk a lot about scale. Scale is the ability to include all the languages, all the markets, to test everything and personalize everything. But if you take into account the idea of hyper-personalization, that introduces the idea that, hey, Sri, I know something about you as a person. I'm going to give you a message that I think might be compelling, valuable, interesting to you. And getting down to that one-to-one personalization is pretty wild. Let me be frank. Personalization is not new. We've been doing it for a long time. There's a lot of false promises out there about what personalization can and cannot do. But the idea that we can actually target a message, a call to action to an individual is really tantalizing. And we're getting closer and closer. You're right. AI has to play a factor because we can't write all that content. We don't know that much about our users. We can, though, start talking about, well, we've got a subset of users here. They're based in Los Angeles. We've got another subset here. They're based in Connecticut. How can we start addressing them differently? Once they start interacting with the content, maybe they buy something. Maybe we know something else about people who bought that same thing. How can we start targeting Yankees fans or Dodgers fans? This is the opportunity to say, let's accumulate an understanding of our customer. Let's combine it with our understandings from, for example, CDPs or the CRM or the commerce system. And let's build a very, very crafted content experience that helps people feel seen, helps them want to engage in a dialogue with the brand, to actually talk with the people that are creating the products that they love. This is the opportunity. And will we ever get to one-to-one personalization, real personalization targeted at me because I am who I am? Like, maybe, yeah. Like in some silly ways, maybe like it'll address me with my name or something like that. But we can get pretty granular, and the AI is a critical part of that.
Yeah, I agree with you that it's about going from one to all to one to many to one to few. The goal is one to one, but there are limitations on your ability to do that. AI starts moving us further down the ladder. So, Gabriel, I want to close out by looking towards the future and having an understanding of what are some of the trends in content, in the content space that you're particularly paying attention to. Maybe some of the ones we've discussed, but there may be others that you kind of want to elaborate on that you think are going to be game changing in terms of the ability to achieve that one-to-one personalization.
When we think about the CPG clients that we work with, they're all facing similar challenges. Like there's opportunities to go direct to consumer, to sell online, to sell in smaller quantities. There's the desire to create better experiences that foster loyalty, enthusiasm, fandom, all that sort of stuff. They're all facing that same journey. How do you actually achieve it? I think talking to your audience very personally, not just personalized, but like very personally is really important. And a lot of the ways that you can do that is through loyalty and creating really targeted experiences for the people that are already fans. Our client, Kraft Heinz, does this with loyalty apps. They use Ninetailed and Contentful to be able to create experiences that talk to people very, very, very personally. And I think that's the important thing. Like, brands have to be authentic. If you're trying to build a real connection with your users, your customers, you have to speak to them like a human and not just, a product. So I encourage people to think about how personalization technologies and how content can create those experiences. But even more importantly, I just encourage them to be real. Like that's what we all have to do in the end.
So AI, hyper-personalization, some buzzwords, some reality. The truth, though, is content has arrived. It's made a comeback, especially in a world of upper funnel acquisition, which is the primary importance. The message from Contentful: platform, platform, platform. Let me remind our audience that you can find all of our content by going to a web browser and simply typing cpgguys.com as a URL. And if you think you or your company has some thought leadership to contribute to our community discussion, simply leave us an email at contact@cpgguys.com, and maybe you can join us on the podcast to share your wisdom just like Gabe did today. Don't forget to drop us a rating at cpgguys.com in the navigation bar up top. This is important because it tells us how we're doing. The review actually tells us whether we're having the right conversations with the right guests. To our followers, especially on LinkedIn, we cannot thank you enough. Your clicks, your likes, your DMs, participating in conversations with us, showing up at trade shows, actually doing live podcasts with us, doing podcasts with us, and shaping the outcome of the CPG and retail industry is a big deal. You mean the world to us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Gabe, thank you for joining the CPG guys this morning.
An absolute pleasure. Go A's.
Peter, let's leave the Yankees and Dodgers out of the summary, please. What do we learn today?
Sure, Sri. Thank you for that. I love that Gabe started off talking about how Contentful is a headless content management platform where the front end and the back end, in terms of, the front end presentation layer and the back end logic and data are separated. The fact is that the role of bringing Ninetailed into the Contentful ecosystem is really about the ability to measure the performance of the content through A/B personalization testing. And I love the fact that he also said that tech for developers is an important part of storytelling, but what experiences are compelling is really what drives the conversion that they need to get at. And combined with content is an exciting outcome. Ninetailed was created to help improve composable content platforms, particularly Contentful. So it was pretty much a natural integration. And that A/B testing evaluates the quality of the content in actually converting. And that AI is really upending the content production in our industry, which is why everybody's so excited about the potential that it brings. But product content at scale, the ability to produce content at scale is ultimately what is needed. And you need to be able to bring into that process the ability to include the brand message, the tone, the voice, the compliance, and the governance. AI is really great at pattern matching, but you also have to feedback into that algorithm what is working, what isn't working for it to improve. But at the end of the day, the large language models are really describing the identified patterns. He gave a couple of examples on how Kraft is using it. But it's also important to understand that AI's job is not to automate everything, that pattern matching is the task it needs to do in addition to teaching users to progress through the steps of the platform. And that ultimately Ninetailed is the measurement platform that will help calculate ROI for their customers, and that this goal of reaching hyper personalization, it's hard to achieve, but AI is going to move them in the journey in that direction. And at the end of the day, the best way to win is to create meaningful experiences for your consumers. And in doing so, brands need to always remember to be authentic to who they are and what their brand message is. That's my quick summary, Shri.
Awesome. I look forward to seeing how this plays out in the CPG industry and retail. Content is clearly here to stay. Content will be the future of advertising. Content will be the future of consumer engagement, given that it's a war for engagement, as Gary Vee continues to say, in pretty much any social media platform. Look at me even talking about social media platforms, because it's a war in engagement. The best content will be who people will gravitate to and come back again and again and again and build loyalty. So I look forward to seeing, Gabe, how Contentful plays this out for the CPG industry as you all double, triple down on that space. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Gabe. That's a wrap of this episode. More to come from the CPG guys.
The content in this podcast episode is provided for general informational purposes only. By listening to our episode, you understand that no information contained in this episode should be construed as advice from CPGGUYS LLC or the individual author, hosts, or guests, nor is it intended to be a substitute for research on any subject matter. Reference to any specific product or entity does not constitute an endorsement or recommendation by CPGGUYS LLC. The views expressed by guests are their own, and their appearance on the program does not imply an endorsement of them or any entity they represent. The views expressed by CPGGUYS LLC do not represent the views of their employers or the entity they represent. CPGGUYS LLC expressly disclaims any and all liability or responsibility for any direct, indirect, incidental, special, consequential, or other damages arising out of any individual's use of, reference to, or inability to use this podcast or the information we present in this podcast.